Hi, ABA community, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Radical BCBA. I have so much to talk about. There was a specific topic I wanted to bring on to this podcast. I just didn't know how. And I feel like this last week or weekend that I was in Atlanta kind of tied it all together, and I feel like it's going to be so cool to lead on to that. Guys, sometimes we just have a purpose in life. And sometimes we don't know what that purpose is, but then all of a sudden, when you question that, these little doors start to like open up and you're kind of like, who did that? I didn't open that door. Like all of a sudden it's just like, whoop, swung open. And that's where it's like, I guess at the end, I hope this podcast or this episode continues to do that for y'all, because I have these messages that are coming to me and I'm like, you know what, I hope my message could then also be spread out and for you to be able to get more in tuned into yourself and your journey and your process of, you know, either becoming a BCBA or trying to find out like what your purpose is. So let's start out with Atlanta. So yes, I went to Atlanta on Thursday, and let me tell y'all, we almost missed our flight. Like, I've never experienced this before. Yadi has definitely flown a lot more than me. I'm new to this. This is new with me experiencing the flying and the vacationing, you know, because I'm a BCBA now. I got a big girl job, and so does my fiance. And so I remember we almost missed our flight and we're running, y'all, running to our gate. Yadi's phone and iPad's falling. You hear cups all loud and I'm just, Yadi, run. Because I could hear them saying, this is their last call. And we're like all the way to the end. And we're just, again, just sprinting there. And this is because we just didn't prepare. Like, I guess our flights had changed. We didn't know we were going to leave earlier. And we're just like freaking out. You're like in fight or flight. All of a sudden, I just feel like I opened my eyes and there I am in the middle of downtown Atlanta, because the airport, you take a tram or a train or whatever y'all call it. And then all of a sudden you arrive to downtown, which is where we were staying at. And you're just like, holy hairball. You're just standing there and I'm like, okay, where is our hotel? And it was legit like down the street. Like we could just turn and we found it. But like, again, it was just such a fight or flight instance that I didn't even, y'all, I thank goodness I had my bag packed. Like, we never prepare like that. And somehow, some way we prepared earlier, even our kids' stuff, because they ended up staying with my mom. And so everything was good to go in that area. But then all of a sudden, boom, we're in Atlanta and we're like, okay, not only am I in Atlanta to visit, I'm there in Atlanta to be in a podcast, to be a guest in a podcast. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the next day. So we got there pretty late, got ready for bed and everything. And I am getting ready for this podcast, y'all. And I understand now why it's so scary, because I'm the one that's been hosting other people, right? I'm the one that has been bringing these guests in, and I'm like, don't worry, it's gonna be natural, we're gonna have a conversation, you're good. But now I was like on the opposite end, and man, I was nervous. Like, I was like, what are they gonna ask me? But like, now I understand, because this is gonna be out there for the world to see. This is an image that someone's gonna have of you on their platform, right? Here I am, you know, preparing for this podcast, and it's a pretty big one. It's with Beyond the Science podcast. And I think I ran into like one of their podcast episodes that really drew me in. They have really, really awesome people on their podcast, very knowledgeable. So, you know, I do feel honored to be there and to share my story. I think they're really interested that, one, I'm a Latina, I'm queer, I'm very open on my social media, and I'm gonna be open. Like, I just want to be myself, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get the people who relate to you. And I rather have those be the ones who follow me and support me and learn from me, because that means that they are very open too. And that's what we need. That is what we need for a holistic approach. And it's scary. I think we have to put ourselves in a risky situation when we share things, because I do try not to offend anyone. You know, I think that's always my thing. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, but at the same time, like, the way I am and the choices that I make, it is all based on me. And like, I don't want to be judged. I don't judge people. I don't want to be judged. But that's more of a personal thing. Anyways, so it was awesome. It was awesome. And, you know, I wanted to share one thing. I remember this is my second time being a guest in a podcast, and both of them haven't came out yet. So the first podcast, I remember saying like, hey, you know, I'm going to let go of my OT license. Like, I really don't want to be known as Michelle OT in this ABA field. But I noticed as I'm coming into these, becoming a guest, I think that's what people are really interested in about me, is having that OT perspective and background and blending that with ABA, because I still do. I think that it's like a brain moment. I was just like, wait, I still do practice that though. I still use those approaches in ABA. So why am I trying to rip this identity out of me? And the reason why is because like I do feel like I should have been a BCBA my whole life. But you know what? Maybe I feel that way because I have the OT knowledge that I have. And my approaches are definitely way different. And so it's like a moment where you're just kind of like, love who you are. It's like me realizing, like, instead of trying to shy away from that or not wanting to be known as that Michelle with the OT background as a BCBA, it's like, no, that is really who you are. Even you don't realize this, Michelle, but you still carry that with you. And so with the first podcast, I was a little more like, I don't want to be known as that. And like, as I enter this second podcast, I'm kind of like, that is who I am. And so it's been a beautiful experience to also accept that. And I guess it's hard because like, I always felt that there was more that I had to do in the field that I was in when I practiced occupational therapy. I felt like there was a bigger picture at the end. And for sure, my fiance is an amazing OT, and I just never felt like I was at her level, I guess you can say. Like she's just so passionate about OT. But then I think it's because I really was passionate about other things. Like I'm very passionate about teaching, and I'm very passionate about spreading awareness and continuing education. Like I think at the end, it's like teacher, right? Like teacher is my idea. So maybe continuing to just educate myself is the overall goal. Interesting, right? Like, okay, Michelle, like I'm having a moment. I think we all do. I think we all should. That's the only way we're going to evolve. But let me tell y'all, this podcast, I'm excited. I'm excited for both. I'm gonna come out on ABA on Tap, and I'm also gonna come out on Beyond the Science podcast. And they should be coming out around the same time in August. And so it's cool because it's totally two different stories, but still resembling the OT background and how I use it and the neuroscience and all that nerdy stuff. And yeah, so I feel like once y'all hear those, like, let me know. I am more than happy to like to dive deeper into these topics, because I know it's sometimes very fun. And I'm getting more ideas on how to continue this holistic approach that I want to introduce to the ABA community. So not only were we there for the podcast, we were also there to see Russ. He's a rapper. He's super awesome. And I love him so much. I didn't know he was going to have Big Sean as his as the person who opens up for him. And, I know a couple of songs for him. He's really cool and, goes up there and does his thing. And I didn't know he started to talk about his life and how he has a book and like how he was the first, Black rapper to perform in the White House. I think this was when, and I remember that, I think this was when Obama was a president. And he talked about how his grandma was the first Black woman to be a pilot, which is beautiful. Like you could just see the history, the rich history that he has in his family. And, again, the book is about him and him evolving and self-love and growth. And it was just like beautiful. Like you didn't think you were going to have someone come up there and preach about about how to continue, achieving your goals and pushing through with those goals, and to have faith within yourself and things like that. And I was like, man, it's like you're talking directly to me. I'm telling you, we went from like instant boom, we're in Atlanta, to like this podcast and realizing that, this is who I am, this is what I am, and this is what I'm going towards. And then all of a sudden Big Sean is giving, preaching out here, and you're just kind of like in tears. And it's beautiful because, the way he said it is like, trust me, I never thought I would be here. I never knew until I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then you find a purpose and you start to realize that your purpose is to just continue and to continue going, and that there is a reason behind everything, which I already had an idea about. I was kind of like already like, all right, God, I know you got my back. Like I seen you pop up. Like, again, I'm not very religious. I'm very spiritual. but I still believe in a God. And so it was just so beautiful to see his history and where he comes from. Like, you get to see something, like, you just see a rapper, right? You just see this man just rapping and wearing his bandana, and you don't know anything about him. And I don't judge, but I'm just saying, like, I could only imagine what he has like encountered by the way he looks. Just like how I talk about in my podcast, the way I look, like I've already encountered that so many times, and being queer and all that stuff. So I'm like, wow, look at everything he's encountered, and look at his beautiful history and everything that he has. He has a purpose. He has a purpose. And he's sitting there preaching, saying, y'all all have a purpose. And so here I am preaching, y'all. Y'all all have a purpose. Whatever your purpose is, that is your purpose. And just live day by day. And I do that. Just live day by day, knowing there is a reason why you make the choices you make for that purpose, even if you may not know what that is. And it's crazy because here I am creating this podcast episode to a topic that we are leading to now, that I kind of wanted to share. It was an experience that I had relating to like trauma and like my purpose. And this is before TikTok blew up. I was still in school as a BCBA. Like, it was during some hard times when this happened. And it's beautiful because it's tying my spirituality. I do believe in mediums, and I do believe in like connecting with the outer world. Like, if you really just, and I say this not because like I'm here practicing the spirituality stuff, it just naturally comes. You can feel that in your soul. And so yeah, it's cool. So I remember I was already with Yadi. We were already living together. And I remember it was just me and her. The kids were with their dad. And we were walking, around we were walking in this little shopping plaza. And this man was just kind of like frantically, like, kind of like, you could tell he was a little hesitant. And then all of a sudden he's like, stops me. He goes, hey, I know this is a little weird. I'm a medium. My wife's shopping inside. But I kept seeing you, and I just feel like I need to talk to you and tell you something. And I'm kind of like, all right, I want to hear this, because like I've been wanting to go see a medium, but I don't want to pay the money for it. You never know what kind of experience. Like, I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know how I die. Like, I don't want to know none of that. So it's a little scary, right? But I was like, all right, I'm very open to that. I'm very spiritual, let's do it. And I remember him just sitting there and saying, like, you struggled a lot when you were 16 years old. There was a male and a female who hurt you deeply around this time. And he starts going into like deep, like ancestor stuff. Like, there's a lot of trauma that your family carries in your history, and a lot of suffering. And he goes, there's this black shadow that sees you at night, that bothers you at night, and he's not gonna come back anymore. I feel that he's never gonna come back anymore, which is crazy because like I didn't really like see anything at night, but I remember just waking up at certain hours of the day and kind of the room just seemed darker than usual. Like, it just seemed darker than usual. Maybe and to me, I'm like, oh, I mean, my eyes are just like really exhausted. Like, I always had a reason why, but it was always around this certain time. And he mentioned that he's like, between the hours of 2 and 4, I think he said. And it was just like, it's never gonna bother you again. Like, I'm letting you know right now that you are here, and your purpose is to break generational curses and trauma in your timeline. And I'm just kind of looking at him, soaking all this in, because I think that's always something that I wanted to do as a parent, is break those generational curses and history that we've had. But again, I've experienced trauma, and my parenting skills were not even close to the best at the beginning. And so again, going through education and learning and learning the system and the neurological system and the sensory system and the way we process information, like, I've learned so much. And this is opportunities that my family did not have. We're Latinos, we come from Mexico, and that is way different, right? A different world, way different world than here. And I was like, yeah, I've always felt that was my purpose, but I always thought it was going to be my daughter's purpose, because I'm sure she's going to do, if she wants to be a mom. I never pressure that on my kids, but if they ever do, like, I wonder if that is their purpose, like, because I know they're going to learn from me, because I went and got the education and things like that. And, he's just, telling me these things about and he's going and going and going and like kind of like just spilling it to me, like, so I'm like, cool, right? I did think about it, but I was like, all right, it is what it is. And then y'all, that night I remember going to sleep, and don't know if y'all noticed, but I don't really talk about my dad. I don't have a relationship with my dad, and maybe I can get a little bit deeper later on, but he is an active drug user. So that's why y'all don't hear much about him. But I do feel like now I'm realizing that there is a lot more trauma on his end of the family. I remember going to sleep, and I remember like something was trying to come in through my door, like my door for my room. And I remember that it wouldn't be that this black shadow couldn't open the door. It couldn't open the door. And finally I see the door open, and I just see this black shadow of my dad's face, just like his mouth opening really wide, but he couldn't come in. Like he just couldn't. And then it just closed. And then like ever since then, I haven't really experienced any of that anymore. And it's also crazy because I think the next day Yadi said that she woke up in the middle of the night and she felt this weird presence next to me while I was like knocked out. And she's like, I just had to pray and it went away. And ever since then, we haven't really ran into any of that. And it's just like, again, this hasn't been a whole life experience of me experiencing that, but here and there, just those weird moments. So it's like, wow, like I didn't think about what he told me so deeply that that's the reason why I'm dreaming about that. But it's like, what was my conscience thinking? Or how did it even create this image idea of this conversation that I had? And so you sit there and you're kind of like, wow, I am doing that purpose as well. Changing this generational curse that we've all been carrying, because there's a lot of research out there that trauma is actually like embedded in our DNA. We're legit born with it because of how our neurological system works and how, what hormones are being processed when the mom is pregnant, also experiencing trauma, right? Because I'm sure my parents did experience it while my mom was pregnant. And so that's just embedded in our blood. So it's like we can try to be the best version of us, but it's still in there. We have to dive deeper than just that. And that is what I wanted to share, because it's kind of like, I'm very open to a lot of these things, and that has to do with spirituality and like, if you have a religion or you believe in something, like get in tuned within yourself, get in tuned with it in a way of like, this is my purpose. And especially if you're here because you are moved by the things that I've shared and the approaches that I want to move forward with, you have that same idea and passion within you as well. And I believe that because a lot of the comments that I get on my TikTok videos and things like that, beautiful comments. Y'all are very like, I love this approach. I've been saying this for the longest time. This system is broken. Like, that is what we need. And I'm happy that my platform is growing for those purposes, so we can find a community where it's easier to access. I'm just very happy for that. Like, I'm very glad that people are commenting and sharing, because then y'all get to meet other people on the same boat. We are all coming together, and the more people we can reach out to, the more we can get together, the more powerful we're gonna be. So push through that, y'all. I guess at the end of the day, it's like, do this. And there's a purpose at the end. There's a purpose and there's a reason why. And even if we don't know right now, every instance that you get answered as your life moves on, you're gonna be like, there's the answer to that. I've gone through that already. I'm like, Yadi was planning to actually join the Air Force when we got together. We were going through a financial hardship at that time, and we're raising the kids and things like that, and we're just kind of like, you know what, we'll leave it in the hands of God instead of stressing about it. Like, if this is our purpose, he will lead us there. And he didn't lead us there. And guess what, maybe there's more purpose and more reason as to why here we are, reaching out to more people. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, Yadi already finished the cover. I think she did. I'm gonna ask her right now when she gets home. I think she finished the cover for our podcast. Y'all, I am excited for that one, because I was telling her, I was like, girl, I could talk more when I have like someone next to me. Like, I have so much to share, and instead of just like a solo podcast like I'm doing right now. But I'm excited for that one because it's gonna be fun, exciting, nerdy conversations, and we're gonna share a lot. We're gonna share like our life story, how we met, like things day to day, parenting. We're gonna talk about our journeys too, like OT and everything. Like, it's gonna be awesome, and we're excited to show y'all that, and just pretty much stay tuned for that. Like, again, there's more to this story, but we only have so much time. That's what kind of sucks. The last thing that I want to share is I was asked a question on what is something I would get rid of in ABA. Oh, y'all, I know I'm going to hear this, and I just wanted to share a little more on that perspective once you hear it. So I said I would get rid of the functions in ABA. And I came across somebody else who said the same thing the other day on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one. Okay, cool. Maybe I'm not going to get bashed for this, but it's not so much that I want to get rid of them. I think it has definitely helped me understand a little bit more on how to support a client when we find the function of behavior. But a lot of times it's not just one, right? We're looking at one or two or three or all of them. And the thing is, I just want it to be more clear, more in depth. I think we need maybe more options than just four. And apparently there's going to be a fifth one called control, which is all of them, which I believe 100% it could be all of them. But to me, it's like, what about like that respondent conditioning? What about the way our body has been conditioned with those reflexes, with our neurological system, with that heart racing, with all that goes in our body, and the way it's responding to certain things in a fight or flight situation, right? They're getting anxious, they're eloping. But in my perspective, I see it totally different. I'm just like, why is his body reacting like this? It's scared. It's scared because it's either too hard, it's new, it's unfamiliar, it's scary. There's a lot of reasons behind it. And so we get that little elopement, like, oh no, I'm scared, and we're not viewing it that way. I mean, yes, we're using replacement behaviors to better support them in communicating what's going on, but I think it's just deeper. And I feel like right now, this is just kind of like, here you go. Here's basics, like try to use them, but also teach us and help us and guide us into a deeper perspective of that. But then again, ABA is so big. So at the end, it's like, do I have to do that? Like, does it have to be me? And sometimes I realize that it might be. Because as a scientist, that is our purpose. We are scientists. We're the ones doing these experiments to bring out research and data to prove something. And so now I'm like, dang it, it's on me then. If anybody else has this vision too, please reach out to me. Maybe we can do something together. I would love that. Brainstorm together. Like I said, I love talking. I have ADHD, but sometimes I just run out of ideas. Like if someone starts to be like, girl, let's do it, like, here you go. I'm more of a, let's come together and brainstorm together, because I love learning. I want to learn your perspective, and your perspective. Here's my perspective. Let's blend it together. And a lot of times that is how scientists sometimes work. Imagine being able to find someone who has a similar interest and ideas. Let's run with it. Let's totally run with it. So if you believe in that, let me know. I'm not saying we should completely get rid of them. I'm just saying, let's dive deeper into them. Let's understand the respondent conditioning a little bit more, because what respondent conditioning is saying, those unconditioned responses that we have, like the example that they give you, the salivation for the dog and the food and the bell, same thing for your heart rate. We're going to think about those behaviors. Okay, those are being conditioned with something that it shouldn't be conditioned with, right? Like the bell in this instance, the bell gets, it's being paired with the food, right? The unconditioned stimulus. And ring, 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 ring. While the food is presented, the saliva is coming. So then that saliva is being paired. It's going through this conditioning process that at some point the food doesn't even have to be presented, and that bell's ringing, the salivation's coming, bam. So sometimes our bodies do that. Something becomes conditioned without us realizing that, and then here it goes. Our body's responding the way it shouldn't. So I feel like we just need to dive deeper in that respondent conditioning. And I feel like we have an idea, because Skinner's over here with covert and overt and radical behaviorism. We just need more of that part, and I also feel like we're just trying to find like an easier, faster route. So sometimes going through, the type of conditioning that we're learning through operant conditioning is like, it is faster. But I feel like sometimes we're just probably putting a band-aid for now. Are we supporting for the future? Are we supporting future adult individuals? That is our key. That is what I think about. And I work through that as well. I think my main key here is we need to make sure our needs are being met. That is one thing I've learned as an adult. I need to make sure I'm eating. By the time I'm hungry and my stomach starts rumbling and I'm kind of like, dude, I need food now, my body goes into this shock. It's like survival. So I'm not my best version, right? And then it's like, well, could I have tried to prevent that? Could I have tried to get a snack? Could I have made a different choice? Could I had, be more productive of taking care of myself? Because I'm so busy with work. I'm just so busy that, and I have ADHD. So sometimes I do really forget to eat. And so instead, it's like, don't wait for your body to start responding and saying, hello, alert, alert, alert. I need this. Instead, just do some of that preventative care. And I understand there's not access for that for everyone. I totally understand that. But that should be our priority for our clients, for the things that we are working on. That should be our priority. If you have families struggling to get food in their home, let's find those resources, right? So then our kids are being fed. Our kids are being put on schedules where they're receiving that nutrition to then support behavior that is being changed. Survival is number one. That is the key to this. So if we're meeting those needs first, imagine this kid is being placed in ABA, right? Or, because there is companies who do receive government insurance and things like that. It's like, there's way more to that picture than just those behavior changes and services that they're receiving. But we don't have time, right? We don't sometimes have that time. But that's why you make a decision to work for a company. I'm working for a company, where I know I have the freedom to do that, and they have the same passion that I do. And it took me, this is my second job, and I'm happy where I'm at. Someone else can pay me over $100 and something an hour, to do ABA services for them. But to me, that is not pleasing. I know they're going to milk me away to bill to make up for that money that they're paying me for. And to me, it's just not worth it. To me, it's like, I want to see progress. I want to make changes, and I want to see the kid grow and develop and get the skills that they need. And teaching caregivers, y'all, like I said, like, I'm learning that I need to make sure I'm keeping up with my water, make sure I'm eating, make sure that I'm not leaving my body pretty much begging. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, and your mood shifts and you're just wondering what it is. You think you're just exhausted because you had a long day at work, but in reality, all you drank was coffee, and that's it. That's what's fueling you right now. No wonder. It's like a gas. It's like your car with gas. It's like you're just trying to get it there, but it has no gas. So those are things that I kind of start to think about and try to see a perspective of that, including sleep, including hygiene, including love. Love is a huge one, right? Love, affection, socialization, like understanding and safety, and bringing down that heart rate. Your heart rate cannot be up and going all day. This is where we see those hyperactive kids who all of a sudden get those triggers and those bursts and those very high intense behaviors. They're like that all the time. So let's find their formula. Let's bring them back down. Let's meet those needs first before we try to change behavior. Y'all, thank you so much for being here for another episode. I am just very thankful for y'all, and thank you again for always supporting. I have more guests coming in. I'm hoping to get a mom in who is experiencing ABA in a different perspective, and hopefully another BCBA. She's a great friend of mine, and of course my co-host. I'm gonna bring her in as well for the other podcast where we will be providing CUs and information like that when we work together. But I'm excited to interview her and have her here as a guest, so y'all get to know her as well. So y'all can get to know her as well. And her name is Yaneli Rico, and I'm excited. You guys stay tuned for the podcast. They're going to be coming out. Go check out my journals. Go check out my website, themindfullearner.org. I will see y'all next time. Bye.